GM everyone, how you doing? I'm Zoe, co-founder of Intraverse. Today we're talking about a big topic, a really hot topic for 2024. It's engagement on Web3 gaming, especially about normies from Web2 migrating into Web3 gaming. I wanted to start introducing our guest today because we have real OGs from gaming, starting from Max. I don't know how to pronunciate your last name, Stockl? Okay. And Max is the co-founder and CEO of Dogami. And I was reading last year you guys raised 14 millions and you have a community of more than 200,000 people. And this community is not like all the others because it's mostly holders like diamond hands. And it's not really common because most of the big, projects are full of speculators, so flippers. But in this case, it's really interesting how they face, how to get this union inside the community. I would like to know by you, by your experience, how you got the community so packed and what was the challenging part to get new users inside your Web3 game?
Sure. So we started off in 2021 at the height of the bull market, pretty much. And I think we got the timing really right because we started with something that has dogs. So Dogami is basically two things. For one, it's a virtual dog that lives on blockchain that can be used in various apps. And the second thing that Dogami is, it's like a cross-media IP that extends beyond gaming, comic books, and like in the future, hopefully like TV series and stuff. And our core product is Dogami Academy. So it's a mobile game where people can interact with the dog and compete against other players. So back to your question. So we have a very mass market friendly theme, I would say. So, everyone loves dogs. And our audience is also comparatively much female because, like girlfriends, for example, of NFT collectors weren't really into like NFTs, but then they realized, okay, now I can buy a dog that's on blockchain, that's really cool. And then sort of we onboarded a few of these people as well. And so that really helped us build the community and build some hype. And everyone loves animals in the Web3 space. And I think what we also did is that we were quite innovative. So we were among the first ones to have like 3D avatars that were like manipulable GLB files, so people could actually see them. And that really helped us, grow the hype and grow the community. And to clarify, like we have now 4,000 holders, but we have like 200,000 followers across the different channels. And all of this was done organically. So we never used paid media. So it was just word of mouth.
That's actually crazy because there is a bunch of companies out there raising millions and then, they don't really build something valuable for their community. But in this case, really, you guys made a brilliant output, especially with the 3D models and letting the community to leverage them. That was brilliant, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, we did have to do some trial and error. So we tried one app that's called Doga House, which was kind of a failed Tamagotchi. So then we had to kill the app and start something new. And the new game is like in alpha, and we have now across 1,500 users, roughly we have 4.5 million races and 20,000 hours played. And early March, we're going to be in the App Store, and everyone's going to be able to play. So yeah, very exciting times.
What about the challenging? Like you mentioned all the positive aspects of building this community of holders, but what do you think that blocks Web2 folk, like normies, to get into Web3 gaming?
I mean, a lot of things, right? So the first one is probably the UX challenge. So the fact that you need a wallet and that you need crypto to do transactions, that you need to store a seed phrase. I feel a lot of this stuff has been simplified already and we're in a good path, but we're not quite there yet. And the other part is discoverability. Like the real gamers define the apps on App Store, which I would say is like UA and traditional Web2 gaming is not a specialty of Web3 games. I think they have different marketing strengths. And there's also no platforms like Steam or so that allow users to discover your games. So I have a few other thoughts, but I want to give it over to the other guys.
Totally. I totally agree with you. I would like to flip this question also on Basile, right? So Basile, Oh, or Basile. I don't know what. Is it French? Basile. Okay, French. Basile. Okay. Um, by the way, nice to meet you, dude. It's amazing what you're building with the company. Talking about legends, he's a legend, and he's also building a project called Legends of the Past, right? So the concept is that you are able to fight against someone else, and you are a legend from the past, and you're going to fight against someone else, another legend from the past. For example, Elvis versus Einstein. I don't know. That will be a nice match, and that will be a game mobile, like on mobile. Feel free to integrate. I would like to flip the same question on you because this is really interesting. Building a community is extremely challenging nowadays in Web3 gaming. We know also creating a game itself is super challenging. Like you have a lot of time consuming, you have to get the right team of developers, you have to invest a lot in marketing, but always there is the same dilemma back, the engagement. So how do you create engagement in your community and what are the challenges you faced?
I think what is important for us is we really started with the product. What it means is we are very happy and very fortunate because we managed to hire a very skilled art director, who is also the creative director, who has tremendous experience at various successful gaming studios as an IP conceptor. And so at first we started, in the midst of a bear market. So like no opportunity of funding, difficult to sell NFTs, difficult to raise money. How do you do? Well, it was difficult, but what we did is we, with our vision and with our small team, we managed to raise with business angels in traditional equity who invested, in our studio. And so we took the time because there was no hype, so we wanted to focus on the product. How could we find something that would move the needle in terms of gameplay? That's really important for us. We really wanted to focus on the game, and I truly believe that overall mass adoption in Web3 gaming will come from games that are amazingly fun. And I think it's obvious, and now whenever I'm assisting to a Web3 event related to games, everyone says it, but it's really, really important. And you need to have a game that is fun, even if you remove all the Web3 integration, the financial rewards, the community, that's the core of it. And we should focus on that on a daily basis. And so together, collectively, we spend a couple of months with only 4% of us, so our creative director, lead game designer, who was a former Ubisoft game designer as well on Assassin's Creed. So anyway, small team, 4%, and together we iterated a lot on how we can create something new. So we thought of an IP that would appeal to everyone, so featuring historical character. But what's important is all of them have a glitch. They are different. We don't want to represent, a Cleopatra as the way you may have studied in school. No, in our game, our Cleo is doing some Muay Thai. She has ruled over Egypt, but based on her boxing Muay Thai skills. So each of our historical character has a glitch, something different, something very appealing, and that has, something implemented within the gameplay. So that's about the IP, how to onboard, a broad audience based on your IP, and then about the core loop, the gameplay. What do you create? Is it a copycat of a Web2 game like Brawl Stars or Clash Royale that was popular a couple of years ago? I believe that's the wrong approach to do it, because by doing that, you will only attract investors who want to make money with crypto and used to play those games in the past, but are not drawn to the gameplay nowadays. So we iterated a lot on how to create something and a core loop that was fun to play, that you could progress, and at the same time, while focusing on the sustainable reward loop. I strongly believe that we don't want to oppose Web3 players and Web2 players as well. I hate it. We have to think of players. That's it. There could be some financial rewards or incentives, but it has to be sustainable. So basics, but you should not be rewarding your players by the arrival of new people entering by purchasing NFT that creates liquidity to reward previous players. No, we have to find something sustainable. And so in our game, we are implementing some rewards mechanism through esports, where our players can be members and shareholders of esports team featuring the champions that will play for them on a weekly basis. And we are progressively, again, not forcing Web2 players to play these Web3 games. No, they will experience it, they will see it. They will see that every week there is an event, a tournament. People are winning money, but this money doesn't come from the rain. No, it's financed by sponsored, because brands are sponsoring, our events, because we are offering them a qualified audience that is watching it on a weekly basis.
I totally agree with you. A couple of things I would like to underline from what you said. You actually said that in the future, even if there are no things related to Web3, a community should play anyway to that game. I totally agree with that. We keep repeating the word NFT, but NFTs are just a technology, right? So in the future, we will call them digital assets probably, or who knows how, but still, the community won't play for, rewards. Also, the fact of rewards and creating only liquidity and having an unsustainable economy inside the game. We all know Axie Infinity, right? I still have 3 Axies. They collapsed because they had only a token. They were rewarding all their community, and all the community was flipping so much that at one point they collapsed. And so having a sustainable model of rewarding the community, it's brilliant. I really like what you said. And I would like to ask now to Zhi Feng. I think I could first.
Yeah, that's about right.
Perfect. So you're a senior developer, even if you look super young. And in your blockchain, you have to work with a lot of dApps. What do you see in those communities? How do they approach the Web2 folk into gaming?
I think most of the Web2 developers, they are still trying to understand Web3. So what we are trying to do is that we are trying to give out grants as well as technical support to let them understand how things are run in Web3 so that they can innovate faster, given the right tools, the right SDKs, simplified APIs, so they can easily build their games and focus on their games. And I think we see ourselves as enablers for these Web2 developers to develop new innovative ideas. So I perfectly agree with Basile, right? So I think games should take an iterative approach to getting users on board to Web3. And it's not just, oh, I'm going to give you airdrops right now, and then you play the game. No, that's not correct. What they are concerned with is with the entertainment value in the first place, and then possibly monetary value. So on aelf, we try to enable these developers to develop these ideas and iterate fast. So, yeah.
That's really interesting. I would like to ask to each one of you one last question. It's super personal, and it's a kind of forecast for 2024, because this is the year. I think for Dogami will be amazing because it's the year of cute PFPs and really good times are coming. So I would like to have a forecast from each one of you about your secret sauce, from what you've learned in the past years. What would you like to get inside your community now to involve more Web2 folk inside your Web3 game?
Sure. Actually, before I answer that question, I want to follow on to what you said. Because you said an iterative approach is important. I think it's extremely important that you communicate that in advance with your community. So in our case, for example, we started off, with a white paper that was written by me and my co-founders, and we're not game designers. So we basically tried something, and clearly, it wasn't good enough. So we tore the whole thing down, and then tried something new, and then tried something new. But often the community gets pissed. I mean, fair enough. But unfortunately, it's part of the game that you have to develop quickly, try some stuff, and then see what sticks. And I mean, there's game studios like Voodoo out there, the French company, that do a game in 2 weeks, and then they try it on the market and see whether it sticks, and if it doesn't work, they kill it. And I feel like now this sort of more product-focused mentality has also been adopted in Web3, and I'm really curious to see what we're going to see this year. As to your question, what our secret sauce will be for this year to grow our user base, the first one is obviously to really simplify the experience for everyone. So, I mean, we're now working on a first free-to-play version, which is going to be released in early March, sorry. And there's going to be a tutorial, people can try it out. They don't necessarily know that there is a Web3 component, and they only see that there's like multiplayer competitions that you cannot compete in unless you have an NFT. So you need to then start digging and try to figure out how it works. But this is sort of step one. So the playing experience, just like in, let's say, Call of Duty, where you can Warzone for free, needs to be for free, I think. Otherwise, you're not going to lure in people. There's just too much offering all over the place on the different marketplaces. Then the second thing, how we try to bring in gamers is really like we focus on Web3 gamers. As I said earlier, like we don't think that traditional Web2 user acquisition is our strength. I mean, it's extremely competitive, competing with the Voodoos, Kings, Activisions of this world, and we're not going to manage. We don't have the budget, so we need to focus on what we're good in. And so our approach is that we really collaborate with a lot of communities, and we're going to do a big tournament to create some buzz. Eventually, I also want to have like referral programs so that you can incentivize people to bring in other people. And yeah, and then we really foster the adoption, engagement, and retention. And I wouldn't underestimate like the psychological effect that digital ownership has. You know, like when you own an NFT, it actually means something. I mean, if you have never owned one, you wouldn't understand. But once you own one, I think it becomes extremely clear. And at last, I think gamers would realize as well. And then hopefully, once we have great experiences, I hope that also traditional gaming influencers will start speaking about these experiences, because matter of fact is right now, gaming influencers are very reluctant to talk about Web3 games because they get so much hate from their community. So it needs to be packaged really well and needs to take some courage, I guess, to then promote them. And yeah, I think it's going to be an exciting year. We had already a few great stories, I think, this year with Pixels and Heroes of Mavia, and hopefully Dogami.
It's really interesting what you said, because it's even hard to find developers developing Web3 games, right? Even developers don't like Web3 games. They think they are horrible games. But I really appreciated what you said at the beginning, that you and your co-founder designed the roadmap or the white paper, and nobody has a playbook, guys. So you are pioneers, and I really respect you. You're a G, also your co-founder, and I really appreciate that you changed that for your community. Also, the community is never happy. Like, I have a community
yeah,
too. So.
I guess so, but you have to please them. I think the real OGs are obviously like the Comef guys in Paris, Axie, Infinity. I mean, they made a lot of mistakes, basically, that helped, I think, other people learn quicker, and I find it really cool with the building with Ronan and etc. So.
Totally. Thank you so much. And Basile, please, the same thing.
Yeah, I'd like to answer this question by mentioning a concept that I think we all believe in, that is related to Web3, which is WAGMI, meaning we are all going to make it. And I think it's important. What does this mean is, at the moment, there are 3 billion players, whether it be on mobile, on your laptop, on any console. But in regards to Web3 gaming, it's a couple of millions. In regards to 3 billions, you see the gap. And the thing is, I mentioned WAGMI because we are all here together. We are all working in the same industry as builders, investors, community, developers. So we all hope that we made the right bet. We are all hoping that the future of gaming is Web3 gaming. It's like a belief, it's like a religion. We hope we're right. At least we hope we're not wrong. And so that's why we are trying to find ways to think that this year is the year for mass adoption. But when you look at those 3 billion of players, this is real mass adoption. And what I said at the beginning is we should not try to find ways to lure them into our games, without telling them that there is Web3, and eventually they will discover it. Because as of today, and this is still true, although it's disappointing for us, but real gamers, they think of Web3 gaming as pay to win. Most of the players, so either they feel it's like cheating. People have a gameplay enhancement, they have a boost. So when you enter a game, especially free to play, and you're playing with someone that has an NFT that unlocks something more powerful, you don't want to play this kind of games. You feel like you're playing against someone who is cheating. And same for the idea of crypto overall. Well, again, we are all in together, so we believe in it. But for people who are not in it, crypto, as of today, still have this dark, shady image of like hackers in hoodies that are coding in the dark and doing Ponzi scheme. And this image is still true. And so when it comes to gamers, this image still is inside Web3 gaming. So when we think about mass adoption and how we can create something revolving, Web3 gaming and new players, entering, we have to iterate, we have to find ways to onboard them, but I truly believe that, again, we should not force it, we should not oppose Web3 players against Web2 players, but create something in which Web2 players, they feel it, they experience it, not themselves, but they see other players, not as a quick Ponzi scheme to get profit, but they see that this Web3 integration provides something different. Something, for instance, that could not be achievable or unlockable through in-app purchases. That's where Web3 is amazing. That's where blockchain can be integrated into a video game and will attract players for the fun that blockchain provides within the core loop, within the gameplay. And that's when I believe we're all going to make it and achieve mass adoption.
I love it. Like, this is a mission. I feel that you have a fire, and we are fighting all on the same team. We in Intraverse are doing exactly the same. We take care about engagement for IPs, brands, and NFT games. And it's the same mission we have. We share the same values, and we put together multiple communities, and we try to spread the word about, that even big brands, even big names now, for example, Ubisoft, I suggest everyone to read the report from the BGA, because there are really interesting names now putting their feet inside Web3 gaming. So it's not a bubble anymore. It's something serious that is going to stay. I totally agree with you. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts. And I would like to say, I would like to ask you, I know you work for a blockchain and you're a developer, so this is even more interesting to know your point of view. Like, what's the secret sauce from a blockchain point of view to onboard new Web2 folk into Web3 gaming?
So I think they covered the market and product perspective very well. So I'm an engineer, so I'll cover the tech side. So at aelf, we are focused on like the SDKs and the blockchains, right? So we do have some requests from Web2 developers to understand more about Web3 and to integrate onto our chain. So in terms of secret sauce, I think it would be to onboard Web2 developers, to get them educated on Web3. So why is that so? Because Web2 players, they are bound to these Web2 developers, and these Web2 developers know how to make games fun. So that is why we are very focused on getting them on board. I think this will help churn out more players towards Web3, either knowingly or unknowingly, mostly knowingly. So yeah, I think the technology itself serves multiple purposes, and I think two purposes are the main goals of Web2 developers. Firstly, it has to save costs for them. Secondly, it has to change how games are played, how it makes the game more fun. So in terms of these two aspects, I think we have quite a variety of examples. So I think recently there were some articles on ZK technology on blockchain, allowing peer-to-peer network gaming, right? So I think this can change the industry quite a lot because firstly, with peer-to-peer networking, game developers do not have to bear costs for hosting servers. So that's already a plus. So secondly, it can reduce latency between players. So there's a few more different advantages to having peer-to-peer network. So why ZK technology can allow this peer-to-peer network is because it is able to do verification of game logics. And this verification is done on-chain to prove that players are not hacking. So this will enhance gameplay experience, and it will be processed decentralized, in a decentralized manner. And I think this will really help game developers reduce their server costs. So I think the secret sauce is really blockchain technology, how we are going to utilize it to cut costs, to improve gameplay. Yeah.
And on board Web2 developers.
Yes.
If there are Web2 developers here, I don't think so, but let's get into Web3 gaming. Oh yeah, sure.
Two closing thoughts, actually, if I may. First one, I think it's cool to see this discussion, because 2 years ago when we had these like discussions, it was always about play to earn. It was very focused on financials, like what can you win, ROI. And today during this discussion, it was barely mentioned. I mean, it's obviously still a very important factor of Web3 gaming, but I think that's an important development, that we're moving away from this profit interest. And the second one is, I think the next generation defining gaming IP will be born in Web3. I think just like, Super Mario was like basically enabled by the launch of NES, and how Candy Crush was enabled by the launch of mobile gaming. I think there's going to be one IP or one game that was born in Web3 and that becomes so iconic that basically everyone after knows it. And it's a platform change, really. I think that's what we have at hand, and I'm very happy to be part of that development and trend.
It's a good moment to be alive. I totally agree with you. I don't know if for the sake of time, we can have a question now, right? No question, guys. Sorry. So thank you so much, everyone, for staying here with us. And yeah.